Welcome to Goober Time with Dr. Chris Chismore, hosted by Tom and Griffin.
We are your hosts, Tom and Griffin.
Unfortunately, our illustrious friend, Dr. Chris Chismore, is away on his important research and unable to host a podcast this week.
But fear not, dear listener, because he has left us in charge, and we are going to try to do a really good job of a podcast.
This week, Dr. Chismore has asked us to talk about...
Sleep. Sleep. Try it again.
Sleep. Let's say optimizing sleep.
Okay.
1, 2, 3.
Optimizing sleep.
Okay, so Chris, because Griffin and I are here once again, obviously Chris cannot make it. He sent his apologies, thanked us for filling in for another week, but he's doing some really important work this week. He's actually relatively close to us at Detweiler Sound in Tupelo, Mississippi. But he is doing diplomatic work this week because he's meeting with the governors of North and South Dakota, and he's trying to get them to just make it one Dakota.
Just make it work. Settle the differences.
Yeah, settle the differences.
The one place in America where the Civil War is still active.
Yeah.
North versus South Dakota.
Yeah. He thinks it can be really good for the country if we just bring the Dakotas together.
Maybe good for the world.
There's no real reason why they need to be so separate.
No. The North has no resources. The South has no resources. There's their culture is the same, homogenous sort of tapioca.
Yeah.
Cultural tapioca. There's no real difference. So let's set it aside, he's saying.
Yeah, he's saying let's set it aside. Let's merge. North Dakota has oil. South Dakota has Mount Rushmore. So he's saying, what if we just combine them and you get one state with everything?
I was wrong about the resources.
That's okay.
One of them has dinosaur fuel.
Yeah.
And the other one has the faces of 5 presidents.
5 presidents.
And you can name them.
And one, yeah, I can name them. It's Teddy Roosevelt.
Yes.
It's George Washington.
Right.
It's Thomas Jefferson.
Oh yeah.
It's I could name 3.
Montucky Brown.
Montucky Brown is not one of them. Crap. Wait, I said Jefferson, Washington. There's
Roosevelt and
Roosevelt. Oh yeah,
you said Roosevelt already.
I said Teddy Roosevelt.
You opened with Roosevelt.
I ended with
you said
Teddy
the same
Roosevelt.
3 guys.
Yeah, I said the same 3 guys
twice.
Yeah. Who are the other ones?
That's more than 5.
Who are the other ones?
That's 6.
Who are the other ones?
I have no clue.
Okay.
You're the kind of guy who knows that.
Yeah, I know. I should know. Crazy Horse is nearby.
I can't think of his name. Crazy Horse is nearby. And the Badlands. South Dakota has a very bad piece of land, which could be an asset. That's sort of a mind space.
Yes.
It's a mind space as to whether or not that's good or bad.
Yeah, the Badlands are really just a frame. They depend. They could easily be the good lands. You just have to change your perspective.
That's what I was trying to say. Thank you for landing the airplane that I launched into the sky.
Chris wants us to talk about how you can optimize your sleep because it's important for guys like us to know how to attack sleep.
Yes, how to squeeze every last bit of sleep juice out of the night.
Yeah, because sleep for guys like us didn't used to be popular.
Didn't used to be possible for a lot of guys like us. A lot of guys would stay up all night hunting, plotting to hunt.
Yes.
Is this what you're talking about back in the day?
Kind of, yeah. I remember hearing that Ben Franklin, everybody loved Ben Franklin because he trained himself to get by on 2 hours of sleep a night.
Micro sleeping.
And people said that was a good thing. Everyone is saying this is a good thing. Look at how productive Ben Franklin was because he did all his stuff.
And I could see how that could be a good thing. If you're able to do that, incredible.
Yes. Well, you would think that until all the science came out.
The science comes in, and you've been biting yourself in your own ass.
Yes. Now we are in an age of science, and we understand that sleep is necessary.
An age of reason, an age of sleep.
If you want to start a business, if you want to flip houses, if you want to
ace your exams,
write
that big term paper.
Yes.
If you want to call her back, if you want to have the emotional space to be able to call her back,
yes,
him back, them back.
If you want to regulate your emotions, as we'll see, sleep is a very important thing to do. It's important to get your full amount of sleep to recover your muscles and make sure you're big and strong and you're rich because your businesses are fueled by good ideas that get compounded by sleep. And now it is important to maximize and track your sleep at every second, and we must optimize it.
Oh yeah. I don't want to just sort of shotgun blast topics here, and we're in danger of doing it because there's such a rich rich topic to talk about, but it is good to be wearing upwards of 3 to 4 Apple Watches or Fitbits when you're going to sleep, just to get those accurate metrics.
Yes, I agree. Sleep these days is all about the metrics.
Can I tell you what you need to sleep?
Yes.
So you need 3 to 4 Apple Watches, because there's just a little bit of drift between the information there. So you want to make sure it's absolutely accurate down to like sort of a nuclear degree. So you want those distributed across, I'd say one on each arm and maybe one on an ankle if you can.
Yeah.
A Fitbit just as a fun throwback.
Mm.
And then if you can afford it, a lie detector when you're going to sleep.
Yeah.
Just so you know when your brain's lying to you.
Yeah, when your dreams are not possible.
Because when your dreams are not possible, because you need to be kept in check. You need to be on the plane of reality.
How many times have we all been dreaming and we're having such a good time dreaming, and we wake up and we say, "Oh, that's such a disappointment." Well, with a lie detector, the haptic feedback is giving your brain the fact, "Oh, this is a lie. I'm not kissing."
She's not alive anymore.
She's not alive anymore.
That's what a lot of my sleep, my lie detection sleep studies have told me.
She's not alive
She's
anymore.
no longer with you,
That's
Griffin.
not the color of her hair. You're forgetting every detail about her.
That's not quite what she smelled like. The feel of her apartment is no longer with you.
Yeah, it's important that you know those kinds of things when you go to sleep, so that when you wake up, you're not jolted. Because that's one of the worst things that can happen to you during sleep is you jolt awake.
That can cause all kinds of issues. Heart attack. That's probably like pretty much the biggest one I can think of. Scared, pretty scared. I've been pretty scared of suddenly waking up from sleep, not knowing where I was or what was real. That's a big bad one.
Yes.
That feels bad. I've woken up in the middle of the night and been so confused that when I finally oriented myself, I knew exactly what it was like to have Alzheimer's or dementia. Like I was like, this is it. I know what the feeling is, which is, my God, where am I? Oh my fucking, who's here? Who are these people? And that is an utterly horrifying feeling.
Except the difference was you didn't have another person in the room saying, "I'm your son, Dad. I'm your son."
I did. No, I didn't. I didn't have that. You looked at me with such a level of confusion that I didn't have. I couldn't stand behind my own bit. Okay. Monkey's here. I very profoundly felt like I knew that experience.
That's
bold
scary.
of me to say,
that's
but
scary.
Yeah, it was scary.
Yeah, so we've established anyone who's slept an hour can tell you how important sleep is to daily life, to
everything we just mentioned.
Everything we just mentioned. It's important to regulating your emotions. Did you know that?
Yes. I have lots of trouble sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
I was going to say famously so, but that's not true. It's just
famously with me.
Famously with you and literally everybody who's anywhere close to me.
Yes.
And I've been a terror because of that. I often when I haven't slept, I have an awful time regulating my emotions. Get quick tempered, weave in and out of anxiety attacks. Mm-hmm. Just on the verge of crying for seemingly no reason. Then quite angry, then elated. But often it's not, I'll say you're not good at regulating your emotions, but it's very rarely the good emotions you're having a tough time regulating. Mm-hmm. It's mostly, at least for me, the bad ones. And I can't imagine how it would be the good ones.
Yes.
Nobody's not sleeping and then going on a manic episode. Maybe they are, but I would think the manic episode has kept them from sleeping. Yes. I'm getting to the semantics of, and look who's here. Speaking of sleeping.
Oh my God, Monkey is being so sweet and then he bite me. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, sleep. So one thing that's particularly interesting is, you start off in non-REM sleep, which is deep sleep.
Right. That's as deep as it goes.
That's as deep as it goes. So you get a few hours of that.
Oh, sorry. You're saying you start in non-REM sleep.
Yeah,
light Narnar sleep. Is what you just called it? You just said Narnar sleep.
Narnar sleep is the type of sleep I get before a big swell comes in.
Nice. Light surface level sleeping is the first thing you do.
No, non-REM sleeping. Non-REM sleeping is deep sleep.
REM is not deep?
It's like, it's not deep sleep.
I thought REM sleep was as deep as it goes.
REM sleep is what you get in the early morning. Yeah, no. REM sleep is like lighter sleep. You are dreaming during REM sleep.
Oh, but you get it there's usually, a sub level.
Yeah.
I've done a lot of research.
REM sleep is like what you get right before you wake up. Like sometimes you have a lot of dreams.
Yes,
at
yes.
Early morning, right when you're waking, right before you wake up. That is the type of sleep that is important in regulating your emotions. So that is why you can sleep for like 2 or 3 hours and then you wake up in the middle of the night and you can't get back to sleep. You're pissed off the next day because REM sleep they actually found was important in regulating your emotions.
You got to get all the way to the end of the night, which is where REM happens.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So that's why if you don't get a full, you don't go through your cycles enough.
Yeah.
You go non-REM, REM, non-REM, REM. You need to get a few cycles of sleep fully complete.
I see.
Fully charge your brain. Make sure you're in tip-top shape to do your spreadsheets.
Right.
Then your back books.
Make sure you can get 140 words per minute.
Yeah. You got to get 140 words per minute. I got to log into QuickBooks. I got to make sure the numbers are right. Got to make sure my business is humming at full speed. Got to make sure my taxes are paid.
Yeah, no, I know.
All that stuff. So the fact is you're not getting REM sleep when you feel angry. You haven't got enough REM sleep. And that's one of the facts of the podcast.
Yes. I agree with that. Sorry. I just realized I forgot to turn on the other camera. Let me do that right quick.
Okay.
Keep talking. Vamp.
Griffin's turning on the Randallman Skycam, sponsored by Randallman's. Randallman's family of sauces. Randallman's. That's yum in Saucinese. There we go. Now we're up. The Skycam. Mr. Randallman.
That's movie making right there, baby.
Mr. Randallman, thank you for the Skycam. Thank you to our sponsor, Randallman Sauces.
Okay, sorry about that.
Okay, so we've established sleep nowadays is important. It's as important as it's ever been. But there's a lot that goes into a good night's sleep.
Okay.
There's a lot.
You know the soup. You know the ingredients?
I know the ingredients. I did some research here, and it's the QQRT formula. Some good protocol.
Interesting.
We're trying to find protocol that can improve our sleep. QQRT.
QQRT stands for?
What do you think they stand for?
Double QRT?
Double QRT.
Yeah, right. Well, I know that, of course. It's quartz. Quality. Excuse me. It's quality. Quality quartz.
Okay. Quality. Yes.
Retro time.
Okay, you are pretty close. Quartz, though, I'm sure having a nice crystal by your bed.
Yeah, it's crystal.
Probably improves a lot for a lot of people. Not based in science. The Q, the first Q is quantity.
Quantity.
The second Q, quality.
Right. Well, I knew that.
So 8 hours of good sleep.
8 hours, minimal pushing, pulling, jumping up and down. You don't want to be doing any of that in your sleep.
The
minimal sleepwalking.
The biggest part about sleep is you need to be laying down.
Interesting.
So that's quality sleep. You need to be lying down.
Okay, not sitting up. For you people who can sleep on a plane, that doesn't count.
Yes.
Don't log that.
R, regularity. You need to be doing it regular. You can't just sleep 1 or 2 nights of sleep. You can't just sleep 1 or 2 nights a week. Consistency. And timing. You need to be doing it at night.
Right. That's a big trouble I have because I can't sleep really. So at nighttime sometimes is a tough one.
Yeah. So you want to
got to get in that schedule.
Yeah. That's timing. Timing and regularity go hand in hand. That's why the QQRT formula.
QQRT. Quality. What was it? Quantity. Quality. Really good regular sleep and time to go to bed.
Yes. Timing. Yes. Is you want to go to sleep at night and you want to make sure you go to sleep at the same time every night.
Yes, and these are all actual real things.
These are all real things.
Do you have some lesser known?
Lesser
hacks
known?
Or things, I'm thinking of things to help you get good sleep that people might not know right off the top of their head. Because I feel like those are pretty pedestrian. Those are common. Those I think you could deduce if you're having a hard time. Maybe the timing one you might not know that you go to bed around the same time.
Yes.
Okay.
You go to bed around the same time every day, which of course everyone knows is incredibly easy because nothing ever changes.
Right. We all have the same life.
We all have the same life every day.
You want to do the same things. The same shows are on at the same time.
Yep. No one's ever doing anything fun past 8 or 9 p.m. at night ever.
Right. There's no devices or anything to really bother you.
No. I'd say regularity and timing is probably the easiest part of all of that.
That's the easiest part. Okay.
But another thing that people may not know is it needs to be cold. It needs to be very cold.
I need it ice cold.
Yeah.
If I could sleep in a walk-in freezer, maybe not a freezer, walk-in refrigerator. If I could sleep at the walk-in refrigerator at the summer camp I went to growing up, I would do that. If I could get that here in Los Angeles, California, if they would send me the walk-in fridge, I could sleep in that no problem. That'd be perfect.
Did you ever go to sleep in that as a kid?
No, I think I would have had been locked in there or something. I think it
Okay.
locks when you go in.
Yeah.
I got locked in there one time, but as a prank. And then the prank was that the girls were flashing me when they opened the door. But a bunch of the female counselors locked me in there. Well, I wasn't a camper. I wasn't a child. Does it sound like I was saying I was a child?
Yeah.
You made a face like maybe it was.
Well,
not
it
good.
would have been odd for young girls to be flashing.
We were
you
all
that, but-
teens, college aged.
Okay.
And they locked me in there, and I kind of started panicking because I was like, what the fuck is this? And then they opened the door, and they were flashing me, but then they put their shirts down so fast, I didn't even realize they were flashing me, and I was just pissed off.
So you didn't see any nipples.
I didn't see any nipples. Because I was probably hadn't slept well. I was unregulated emotion. I should have been elated at that.
Yeah, if you would have gotten enough sleep, you would have been totally calm while you're in that freezer, and then they would have opened up the door, and you could have banked every single one of those nipples
Got it.
in the mind.
Got it. That's 2, 3, 4. Got them right there. These. Okay, that one. Tried to get away. It's a little bit wonky, but I see it too. Boom. Cataloged. I could have had those, and right now, all that you know what I have in my mind? A blur.
Yeah, which is another
A motion blur.
It's a very important function of sleep is to it helps you learn as well.
Wow.
Getting that deep sleep
Locks it in.
It locks it in. It compounds the information.
During the day, your brain typing down everything it sees, and then at night, it's laminating that.
Yes.
We could say sleep is the lamination of the mind.
Yes, sleep is the lamination of the mind.
I think that's
100%.
probably true. Lamination is something I was quite fascinated with as a young man.
Lamination was a big part of my childhood that has not occupied a single second of my adulthood
Never
outside
once.
of sleep being the lamination of the mind.
Right. Yeah. I thought I was going to be laminating a lot more things. I remember asking my mom to take me to a place to laminate a board game I had made, which was not a functional game. It was just a bunch of stuff on a mat. But my mom got my board game laminated. I thought that was one of the biggest days of my childhood.
That's got to be one of the parts that sucks about having a kid is you got to be like, you have to be like, you're like, okay, I just did all the shit that
I'll go run an errand. I'll go do office work for you.
Yeah. And your kid's like, Mom, I made a board game and I need it laminated.
I need this
and so you're like,
preserved.
Yeah, and it's like you couldn't even buy. It's like nowadays you could just maybe have a home laminator. You're like, okay, let's just like fucking scan it and upload it to the internet so people can find it. But like back then, you literally had to be like, okay, hop in the car. We're gonna go to
Green Hills and we're gonna go to the shop. I remember exactly where it is. I think all they did was maybe they did print. They had to do printing too.
Yeah,
lamination. But incredibly important concept as far as understanding sleep goes.
Yes. But,
it locks it in.
It needs to be very cold. Needs to be at hottest. What do you think the hottest temperature you're able is the recommended sleeping temperature? The hottest recommended sleeping temperature.
Well, first off, I want to say we haven't
surprised.
found the hottest temperature yet. We haven't figured out absolute hot.
No. It's nowhere near.
It's nowhere near absolute hot.
It's nowhere near absolute hot to give you your own frame of reference.
The absolute hottest core temperature that your body can be?
No, I'm talking
outside
temperature.
Jesus. Okay, man. I'm just clarifying terms here. God. Outside of your house or in the room you're in?
The room you're in or outside.
Okay. I'm just dialing it in. I'm going to say the room can be no hotter than 74 degrees.
Oh, you're wrong.
Fuck!
It needs to be much colder than that.
That's like the absolute hottest. Is much colder than that?
The absolute hottest it should be, scientifically, is 67 degrees.
I love to hear that.
I had to adjust my own thermostat after finding that out because I was sleeping at 68.
I love that.
That's why I've been so inefficient the past few years.
I'm dropping that thermostat down as low as it goes. 67 probably good. This is you know what? That's incredible to hear that and have that confirmed. I like to hear that. My girlfriend absolutely will hate to. She'll hate to hear that when I send her this podcast to listen to, as I do each week.
Women hate to hear this one thing.
Yes.
It's going to be the thumbnail for this.
Yeah, and it's going to be a picture of me and Stephanie. and she's gonna be quite upset about the picture.
And she can have her hand in her hair, and it's gonna be good because she has like a nice big hair.
None of that's gonna happen.
And it's gonna look good on the thumbnail.
She would be absolutely mortified.
My wife Jordan would absolutely hate to find that out as well, because anytime I turn it down, she says it's too cold, and then it'll be kind of hot, and she'll be like, "Oh, it's too hot," and I'm like, "You don't realize when it's hot or cold.
You have no concept.
You have no concept.
You're just talking at this point.
Yeah, I've started to turn it down to 66 degrees, and she hasn't said anything because she's usually asleep. She sleeps very well. But
Incredible.
anyway, 67 degrees is the hottest it should be. The lowest they recommend 60 degrees.
I'm now second guessing saying girlfriend's name out loud live on the pod. I don't know if I've done that before.
Hey,
I don't know if you'd like that.
No, we're all about doxing. You know I'm all about doxing.
Yeah, I know. And I'll say this, Stephanie, if you don't like that I just said your name on the podcast and referenced how we're dating, go ahead and leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify Podcasts and let us know in the review that, Griffin, I don't like that you said that about me on the podcast.
We did get a 5-star review, so thank you to whoever said this, who gave us a 5-star review, and their one qualm with the podcast is we didn't give enough personal details.
That sounds like me. That was me incognito. I'm all about the personal details.
Yeah.
What do they want to know? We could run through the stats at the end of the pod.
I think they wanted addresses.
Oh,
I think in one episode I alluded to you living on Yosemite Drive, which
Jesus, yes, you did, and that's not true.
It's not true.
That's not true, but it's close enough. You're gonna get me Weezer wifed. Just to go ahead and hard timestamp this once again.
You shouldn't be afraid if you have nothing to hide.
Right.
That's a principle of the country. Don't be afraid if you have nothing to hide.
That's a principle of the country. I'd say going forward, for
Yes.
sure.
Yes.
If you have nothing to hide, then go ahead and let us
Why are
do
you
whatever.
so scared?
Why are you scared, you
Why are
liberal
you scared?
pussy?
Let the cops in.
Let the
Why are you
cops
so
in, you
scared?
fucking cuck.
Yeah, let the cops in. I trust the police.
Taste the tip of my gun if you got nothing to be worried about. Just
cops
lick it a
are
little
always
bit.
right.
Anyways,
So 60 degrees is the coldest you want it.
60. I like that. If I could get it 58, I'd do that. But then I want to be then warmed back up.
Yes.
Do they account for that? Do they account for blankets in the study?
Griffin,
Do they?
Yes, they do account for blankets in the study, and you're going to love this next. You want to be really cold at the beginning of the night, and then as you get closer to the morning, you really want to be warmed up because you need to get in order to experience that REM sleep. Your body temperature needs to slowly rise back again.
Right.
And they did a study on that.
You need to. So, and with, I'm sure there are ways your body can self-regulate and get you warmer.
Yes.
We can also, I assume, the natural cycle of night to day. In the morning, the globe begins. Your part of the globe begins warming up a little bit. So maybe that's caveman had that going on for him already. But we live in air-conditioned houses. I don't know if you can hear right now, but air conditioning going on.
Yes.
So how do we get that cold to hot, Tom? How do we get cold to hot in sleep? Do you have any hacks? Because I have a few ways I can think of.
One of my biggest hack is a blanket.
Right.
Blanket
is a great. That was a big hack for me.
A big hack. So another actual.
Well, but
okay.
I think I'm catching an issue here that maybe our listeners will also notice is when you sleep with the blanket stays on all night. So that's the same level of warm all night.
Yes.
And we need to be going from cold to hot.
Yes.
So you need another blanket to arrive.
The longer the blankets stay on, the hotter
you're saying
the
your
body gets.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. That's good.
You want to be cool when you climb into bed. And then when you notice it's like you don't immediately get warm. You need blanket or multiple blanket, and then you slowly warm up and you say, ooh.
You go, ooh la la. You settle into sleep. I like to, just to make sure it gets warm enough, I have sort of a Wallace and Gromit style contraption set up just above the bed.
Okay.
I set a candle and it slowly burns a little piece of twine, and it enacts the Wallace and Gromit style contraption above my bed that then drops a second blanket onto me in the middle of the night. There is an open flame next to the bed, but so far it's not caused any issues. And it makes me warmer halfway through the night, which ensures REM sleep when I do go to sleep, even though I do suffer from insomnia.
That's great. That's a great contraption. That's a good hack.
You should do that. If you can, anything you can think of, you get as creative as you want to just go ahead and add another blanket in some interesting way. Or another layer of heat halfway through the night. Because I don't trust my body to just do it by itself. I don't trust that my first blanket, it's going to be enough heat, personally.
Yeah, you got to multiple blankets. Sometimes you can get a heated blanket.
Heated blanket, the time activated.
But see, the trouble with a heated blanket is that you don't want to be too hot going to bed. You actually only want your hands and feet warm when you're going to bed, because that lowers your internal body temperature.
So this is why sometimes I want to go to bed and I want to wear socks when I go, and gloves and mittens sometimes I go to bed with.
Wearing socks and gloves and mittens to go to bed is excellent.
I've fallen asleep with a hat.
Yes, I love falling asleep with a little hat on in the wintertime.
A nice start. It makes me feel like I'm camping.
Yes, it does, which is why you get great sleep when you're camping, too.
Right.
But then you can easily get too hot, and then you wake up in the middle of the night, you're sweating. That's not good. And if you're too hot in the middle of the night, then you wake up.
And that's bad.
Yeah, waking up in the middle of the night, that's what I've had trouble with. Waking up in the middle of the night.
Right.
And that's very bad.
I woke up in the middle of the night to go pee, which that's going to happen. If you're drinking a lot of water or anything else, you're going to have to go pee. Oh, okay.
Okay.
He doesn't ever do this with me. He's kind of really interested in you, the cat. What the fuck was I just saying? I'm just so fascinated by him. Oh, he loves you. This pisses me off.
He's biting me.
He loves you. He's playing.
He loves me. I know.
Hey,
ow,
hey.
Ow. Jesus.
Fuck.
This cat plays. He's biting hard.
Kitten. He doesn't
He's
know.
also like less than a year old.
What was I saying?
You were saying we're talking about waking up in the middle of the night.
Oh, just to go pee. I
slipped.
Is, yeah. I was getting back in bed. I slipped on the floor and slipped and just fell all the way down. Like it was just like suddenly just a piece of slick wood. I didn't pee on the wood. Just whoosh, hit my head in the middle of the night. It kept me up.
Yeah, that
was bad.
That's very bad.
It really was. I don't know why I'm talking about this so much. It sucked. Anyways,
it's not a good hack.
Not a good hack. I thought in cartoons would have you think getting bonked on the head will put you right back to bed, but it turns out it wakes you almost all the way up. I thought about doing my taxes. I was so upset.
Yeah, so you brought up an important part about going pee in the middle of the night. Another great sleep hack is to not drink either any liquid or any alcohol before you go to bed.
Well, and if you do, wear a catheter.
Yes.
I think is the lesson there, the easy lesson there.
You wear a catheter.
Wear a catheter, plug that thing in, and then drain that thing as you're sleeping.
Yeah. Or just have a bedpan. That is one piece where I'm like, I see the way they used to do things in the old days, and I'm kind of like, it is kind of nice just to stand up and piss in a jug.
They didn't used to have
going to the
bedpans.
bathroom.
They would have a jug. Is a bedpan a jug?
A bedpan is a jug.
How does a bedpan work? It's next to the bed?
It's literally something you kept under your bed that you could piss or shit in.
Did you just roll over, or you stood up out of bed? You still had to get out of bed.
Well, I assume for women, they would have to squat.
Sure. But they're getting out of bed.
For guys, they just have to pee.
Somehow,
you have to get out of bed, but you wouldn't have to walk to the bathroom.
Okay. What about diapers? That's another sleep diaper.
It could be an excellent,
a sleep diaper would be good. Or you just drink so much that you don't mind that you've pissed the bed. I've done that before.
Really?
Yeah, for sure. Just was annihilated drunk and then woke up. I was like, oh, well.
I knew a lot of guys in college who had that issue, and I never had that.
It happened to me exactly one time that I can think of, and it was awful. I was with my girlfriend at the time, and it was quite embarrassing.
Yeah, that is really
it
embarrassing.
really sucked.
I'm sorry that happened to you.
Thank you, man.
There was a guy who I was on the lacrosse team with, and he was telling me about hooking up with a 40-year-old woman. We were like 20 at the time.
Wow.
And he was like, everyone on the lacrosse team called me Wando because that's what the high school I went to, and it was on the back of my helmet. But anyway, this is club lacrosse. I wasn't good. Just to give level set.
I think a lot of people were worrying about maybe he was too good at lacrosse, and so it's good that you added that in.
Yeah.
Because now they know it wasn't anything serious about the lacrosse.
Yeah, but we were at practice, and I was on the sidelines as normal, and he said, Wando, this weekend I've been hooking up with this older chick, a cougar. She's really hot. And I said, that's awesome. And he said, yeah, I got absolutely pissed drunk. We had some awesome sex, but I was so drunk, I peed all in her dresser.
Oh.
He said I thought I was in the bathroom, but I wasn't in the bathroom. I pissed all over her clothes in the dresser. And I said, oh, man, that sounded... Monkey, you need to get off my computer. I said, oh, man. I said, that sounds like a bad time. And I was like, was she pissed? And he was like, no, she was cool. She was cool with it.
A 40-year-old woman was cool with that?
Yeah. I was like, that's insane. And they kept hooking up.
That's crazy.
Isn't that wild?
That is wild.
If I was a 40-year-old woman, and I hope to someday be a 40-year-old woman,
sure,
and I was hooking up with a 21-year-old lacrosse guy, and he pissed all over my clothes and my dresser, I'd say, No. I'm finding a man my own age.
I'd be torn because I'd be pretty psyched that I'm hooking up with such a hot young slab of meat.
Yeah.
Piece of slab of meat of ass.
Yeah.
I'd be like pretty jazzed on that. I'm like, all right, I guess he did piss right. He opened it up and pissed in it like it was the toilet.
Mm.
Yeah, no, I might fuck him one more time, then send him on his way.
Yeah.
But that's me at 40 as a woman.
Yeah,
I'm not saying other girls need to do that.
Yeah, we're here to talk about sleep, not to give women advice, because we listen. We let women do their own thing.
We let them do their own talking and their own purchasing.
Yes, women, we will always let you do your own purchasing.
That's the Goober Time with Dr. Chris Chismore, hosted by Tom and Griffin. Promise.
We will always let women do their own
talking and purchasing.
And we won't tell you how to live your life. So drinking a lot of liquids. That's
sure.
where we're at. Drinking a lot of liquid. Don't do that. Don't drink alcohol before you go to sleep. Don't drink a lot of tea. It's even sleepy time tea. Sometimes that's helpful for people. But you want to leave at least an hour or so before you go to bed.
Piss all that out.
Yeah, so you can piss all that out.
Yeah.
But some people can wake up and pee and they go back to sleep totally fine.
That's incredible for them.
But that's incredible for them as well. We're the type of guy who, when you wake up in the middle of the night, my brain says, I'm up. I start thinking. I'm
ideating.
I've got so many really important thoughts going on in my brain.
Oh yeah. I'm thinking about some creative concepts while I'm asleep, and then I'm hoping I can write them down as soon as sometimes I'll wake myself up to write down my genius ideas.
Now that is not necessarily a bad thing. I have had some really good thoughts in the middle of the night.
Last night I woke up in the middle of the night and I opened up my notes app and I wrote down mind mushroom.
Okay.
I don't know what that means, but I did do that.
Okay.
Could be a good idea once I decipher it.
Yeah.
I wrote down mind mushroom, found it this morning and thought, what in the fuck is that?
Yeah.
So there could be something there. And I wouldn't know that if I hadn't woken myself up and written that.
That's a.
Are you concerned for me right now?
Well, yeah. You said you actually had some pretty good ideas, and then you listed the good idea, and it was mind mushroom.
I think that could be something. We don't. Who are
which
we
is
to say if it's a bad idea?
A magic mushroom. It's a mushroom for your mind.
Oh,
it really doesn't
mushroom.
do anything for your body.
Sure, it could be that. It could be a mushroom that fixes your brain.
Which is a lot of people would argue psychedelic.
Okay,
yeah,
well, fuck me, not a good idea. I thought, I'm not going to judge the idea. Maybe someday once I decipher it, it'll be a good idea.
Yeah. Yeah. So waking up, if you're a man, you almost should. It's a good thing to be plagued by not getting any sleep because it means your mind is so active.
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking of so many businesses. You're thinking of so many products. You're thinking of so many ways to. Thinking of so much protocol to optimize and make your life efficient that your brain can't possibly rest.
It could be a good sign, of good
fortune.
Good luck and good night. It could be a sign of good thinking. You're doing some quite important thinking.
Yes.
But you don't want to keep yourself up too much with that. In fact, it's if you're going to just focus and say the daytime is for my genius thoughts and the nighttime is but for sleep, it's best to not be thinking at all.
Yes.
The best way to be sleeping is to not think.
Mm-hmm.
And here's something I was thinking about. You hear a lot of advice around sleeping, sleep hygiene, sleep health. That's don't look at screens.
Yes.
Screen time is bad.
It is.
And I'm here to argue that it's good. Because what do we know about screens? What's on screens? Television, YouTube, boob tube.
Yeah.
These things they're dumb. They make people dumber. They shut your brain off. You go, I turn on the TV so I don't have to think when I get home from work. That's what people say. I think it's good to do that right before bed. You load up, I'd say, as much screen time as possible, watching low-level, dumb comedy, like sort of David Spade, later era comedies. And reality TV, it's the dumbest thing you can. You just load that into your brain and you'll just slowly drift off.
Yeah, I think that's a common misconception. I think that a lot of sleep advice will have you thinking I shouldn't be looking at at any screens at all. I don't necessarily find that it's as much screens at night as it is how much screen time I take in during the day and the type of content. Well, if it's low, like if one thing I do to help myself fall asleep is I will pull up a Japanese train There's a guy.
Japanese. Oh yeah, the Japanese train massacre video that you always watch before
train
bed.
massacre. Yeah, I pull up the top Japanese train massacres.
Compilation 2025.
And the good thing is there have been none of them.
There's
so
been none.
It's just a blank.
So then you can fall right back to sleep.
So I can fall right back to sleep.
But
And
they
say,
update-
oh, thank God Japan is so safe. And I fall asleep.
They update the video each year. Right now they're working on the 2025 compilation so far. You open up, it's just a blank video for about 5 to 6 minutes.
Yes.
And you know.
And I know.
All is right in Japan.
Yes. But there is this guy who makes they're totally natural sound, doesn't do any speaking. They just have subtitles in English, and it's a guy who rides sleeper trains. And it's incredibly relaxing. And that is a good type of screen. Yeah. And he goes all across the world, rides different sleeper trains. He has a little bit of autism. He's definitely on the spectrum, so he focuses on just the tiniest little details that are so calming. And that helps me fall asleep. Whereas, like, if I read the news too much during the day, check my Instagram too much, check my TikTok too much, read too many comments, that keeps me up at night.
Wow. I'm trying to think what I do before bed or what helps me fall asleep. Reading helps me fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a screen. I'm not doing enough screens, honestly, of the kind I just recommended.
Yeah.
I do want to say this. The screen thing, people say it's bad. It's often it's mostly because people are doing shit on their phones or they're like if you're just passively, like I'm recommending, just sucking it in, killing your brain with television and YouTube, that's good. If you're playing Angry Birds, typing spreadsheets, doing work on your phone, that's
No.
playing video game. Don't be doing that for bed.
It's going to be really tempting at around 10 or 11 p.m. to open up your QuickBooks app and start doing all your QuickBooks.
And we're here to tell you,
Don't do that. No.
Don't do that.
Don't do that. You want to be, if you're going to open up your phone at night, it should be to listen to a podcast that calms you. Like Goober Time with Dr. Chris Chismore, hosted by Tom and Griffin.
Watch a podcast. I do that now. So growing up, I got into the habit of listening to stand-up comedy albums going to bed.
Interesting.
And then that just kind of became, I would like always listen to somebody talking.
Yes.
For bed. And it's turned into now podcasts. Mm-hmm. But for a long time, I listened to the best of George Carlin to go to sleep and Bill Cosby's himself.
And you could fall asleep to that.
Oh,
guys,
yeah.
Like with the punchlines and like those are quiet comedians.
Yeah, but people are laughing loud.
Yeah. I'm saying those aren't quiet comedians. You thought I was saying George Carlin was a quiet comedian. Yeah, my problem with George Carlin is I can never quite hear what he's saying.
Commonly known as Come Again Carlin.
That's what any boomer says. Oh, Carlin, have you heard, you remember this Carlin bit? I said, oh, what, Come Again Carlin? Can barely hear the guy.
Fuck this dude.
Yeah.
Did you ever see George Carlin?
Not live.
I did once.
Seen stand up. Really?
Oh yeah, at the Ryman Auditorium with my mom and a kid named Lee
Greenwood, who would go on to write Proud to Be an American. How old were you?
I was in high school or middle school. I was obsessed with. He had a book called Brain Droppings, and I loved that. And of course, I'm listening to the best of George Carlin every night, priming myself to become the incredible stand-up comedian I've become today. Doing all kinds of
stand-up
comedy. I'm doing it all the time. I can't even stop. Basically, I'm doing so much. So I'm the kind of
you're playing the Chuckle Hut.
I'm playing the Chuckle Hut, the Fuck Around Room,
the
Dionysian Sphere.
The Dionysian Sphere. Yeah.
I'm doing all those,
dude. I've been trying to work my way into the Dionysian Sphere for like 3 years now, and I can't even work the door.
Can I tell you? It's who you know. It's not what you know. It's not the quality of your comedy. You just got to get in with those guys, and once you're in, you're in.
I know Quim.
Okay, Quim Bimby.
Bimby, yeah.
Then you should be good. I'm interested. I'll have to check in with him, see what he. Maybe you've done something.
Yeah, I sent him my
hurt
tape.
Him personal affront, or maybe he just doesn't like your tape. I don't know. Quim Bimby. I'll check in.
Okay.
See if we can get you into the Dionysian Sphere.
Yeah. Yeah, I want to do the 2:30 a.m. show at the Dionysian Sphere is my goal. It's my comedy stretch goal.
Well, it's good because you're getting all the guys who have just come out of the casino.
Yeah.
Or they're about to go into the casino, and either way, it's like it's a revolving door. That's of the type of guy that is your audience.
Yeah, I want the 2:30 a.m. wine drunk crowd at the Dionysian Sphere.
Oh yeah, blackout drunk on red wine.
Yeah.
None of those white wine drinkers in there though.
No.
It's blackout drunk on red wine.
This is Dionysian Sphere red wine only. And it's red wine only at the Dionysian Sphere.
I thought you were doing a song. I thought you were about to break into song. So I stayed quiet in case there was another verse. But what was I saying? George Carlin. I saw him with my mom and this kid named Lee, and it was one of these tours where he opens up, he comes out on the Ryman auditorium stage, and he goes, "You know what no one talking about anymore? Pussy farts." And like sitting next to my mom and a kid who, I'm friends with, just absolutely mortified. And then, I was disappointed because all of his material, almost all of it, was stuff that was in the book Brain Droppings.
Damn.
There were versions of it. But mostly it was awful because there was a couple of just Nashville rednecks who were laughing so violently loud and just sort of in quite an ugly laugh that I just couldn't stomach it. I was like 15, 16. I was so pissed off because they were ruining George Carlin for me. And also I'd already heard all of his jokes.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the biggest disappointments as a kid, is especially if you like comedy, is realizing that the person you see doing stand-up comedy has done the jokes before.
Yeah. I think I was also like, I had hyped it up so like he was, I mean, for so many people who have been interested in comedy, this is, it's such a trite thing, but I was just so fucking psyched to see George fucking Carlin live at the Ryman Auditorium. And then it was like, oh, he's just kind of a guy. And I've heard his, I had his whole set memorized already.
He just kind of spent his entire life doing comedy that affected millions of people, and he just wants to keep doing that comedy.
Well, as a 15-year-old, it was just like, you can see my frustration, my disappointment.
I mean, I remember being 15 and thinking similar things, of being like, wait, what? That they're not saying this for the first time? But like... but I mean, I don't know. I think I was just like, whatever. They're once I got just even a shred into stand-up comedy, I was like, oh yeah, I find one joke that works. I'm doing this shit for the rest of my life. I mean, obviously I'm not, but I still have done some jokes for a really long time.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm also not going to burn them in a book. If I put them in a book, I wouldn't and sold the book, I wouldn't go out on tour and...
I couldn't believe that. I thought that was quite strange.
It's like Jay Leno, I think, famously won't do any comedy special, won't allow his stuff to be recorded because he's like, oh no, I've been doing these jokes for like 20 years.
That's
crazy.
Which
I respect, because I'm like, the guy was on the guy does a show every night and like burns through a ton of jokes. If you have your own stand-up, it's like you haven't had a ton of time to like get out there. And like, I don't love Jay Leno, but I am like, I respect it if you're like, hey, I don't want anybody, or like, I don't want anybody to record this because these are like my only jokes and people come to see me and I need to be able to make them think I'm funny live.
I did not, I did not see Leno respect coming.
Yeah, neither did I.
That blindsided me.
Neither did I.
Wow.
But, I saw him at the Dionysian Sphere a couple weeks ago.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I can buy tickets. They let me buy tickets now. They used to not let me buy tickets to the Dionysian Sphere.
Again, my friend, you might be on your way in to the Dionysian Sphere.
You do bring up an interesting point, though, about falling asleep to stuff as a kid, because like when I was a kid, I remember like my parents being like, well, you should just try the radio. When I had trouble falling asleep, they'd be like, because sometimes as a kid, like you get to a certain age and you're like, damn, it's like quiet and my mind is a little bit too active now. Like I'm conscious. Like when you're a little kid, you fall asleep super easily.
Oh, yeah, sure.
But like when you get to be an older little kid, you're kind of like, oh, I've gone to school. I think about school. I think about my tests. I think about stuff. I think about my friends.
I feel like I was so much better at going to sleep when I was a kid. I remember having, when my brother and I had bunk beds, I would say, Madison, we're going to have a race to see who can go to sleep the fastest. And then I just remember closing my eyes and just boom, and then it's the next day. And I haven't just closed my eyes and boom, it's the next day in years.
Really?
That I can think of. I mean, I am medicated when I'm sleeping.
Yeah.
And so lately, that's what's happening, and that's helpful. Mm-hmm. But even still, I feel like a lot of anxiety. Strange. It's not even like focused or like calling it anxiety is maybe like an overstatement, but I think I'll close my eyes and be like, I'm just awake in my bed. Yeah. I'm closing my eyes, hoping I fall asleep. I don't feel tired yet.
It's a form of anxiety because your brain is not fully relaxing.
Yeah.
And when your brain fully relaxes, you can go to sleep.
You know what it could be? My brain's not fully relaxing because it's not fully exercised during the day. Maybe I need to be doing some harder thinking, some harder ringing out. I need to be squeezing out the ideas from my brain, putting them on the page.
Yeah. Maybe
writing those down. That way I know they're locked away.
Yes.
Finishing
your QuickBooks.
My QuickBooks.
Yeah.
My QuickBooks.
I used to listen to IU basketball games on the radio. That would help me fall asleep.
Just the squeaking
Just
of
squeaking,
tennis shoes.
It was so calming. Yeah.
And the thumping of the ball.
Yeah. That was incredibly relaxing.
No announcers. It's just, you're just getting ASMR basketball.
Yeah, I turned to the only radio station.
Just getting grunts of college boys.
Yeah. They never announced the score. Never give
Welcome
any details.
back to the sounds of IU basketball.
And you just knew that when the crowd cheered a little bit in the background that was Indiana.
Yeah, close mics on the players. The crowd is low microphone. There, you can barely hear the crowd. They're way deep in the background.
The band play, the fight songs. But that was really relaxing.
Did you have? Sorry.
I remember getting really good sleep as a kid, but even like now as an adult, when I've had sleep problems, like the next day after I have sleep problems, I'm like, well, this is fucked up. I never used to have bad sleep problems as a kid. But then I was like, I did. Like there were times when I'd wake up in the middle of the night as a kid, not like as from intense like responsibility anxiety, but some type of like, kid dread. And I would go and I'd fall asleep in the bathtub.
Holy hell.
And I'd take my pillow and a blanket and I'd sleep in the bathtub and I get really good sleep.
And that felt good?
It felt good because it was so cold.
It's like little orphan behavior.
Yeah, it was. And my mom and sister even sometimes would wake up in the morning and then come find me and I'd be asleep in the bathtub.
It's wild.
And like it was so calming and like that. And now that I was like this week when I was running all my studies on sleep and tracking myself, I realized that that's actually something they tell you to do is to, if you wake up in the middle of the night, immediately get out of bed.
Get right out of bed.
And go to some place that you're trained to sleep. And for me, I was trained.
Which is other than your bed.
Yeah, I had trained myself that when I hit that cold
cold porcelain.
Yeah, the cold porcelain bathtub, I would go to sleep.
So that's something that's maybe not obvious to a lot of the viewers and listeners.
Yeah.
Is you need to go, if you don't have it already, you need to establish a second venue.
Yes.
That's a big thing. You have your bed. A lot of people, a second venue could be the couch. For some people, it'll be the bathtub.
Some people it could be at another woman's house.
Right.
That's what I tell I wake up and I tell my wife, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I
got to go to Marissa's.
The only place I can get sleep is at Marissa's.
The only place I can get any good sleep is at the bottom of a bottle of bourbon at Marissa's. I'm not falling asleep in bed anymore. I'm falling asleep at the bottom of a bottle of Jack Daniels with Marissa's lips around my ear." Why is there lips around your
maybe
ear?
Not a bad business idea. Would be a fun place to
lips
like have
a
a hotel where like
a hotel where you can fuck the woman who puts you to sleep.
No, I guess thinking of like a place where guys could go when they can't sleep in the middle. Yeah. You open one at the corner. Like a corner store, but a little hotel.
Hotel for sleeping, not for extramarital affairs.
Yeah.
Sleep hotel.
Sleep hotel.
Wow, Tom and Griffin's sleep hotel, the first hotel for guys to sleep in.
There is a place near my house that's a very old motel.
Okay.
And
I just don't want you to dox yourself.
Okay. It's near my house.
Okay.
It's a very calming looking hotel, and sometimes I fantasize about just spending a night there.
I wonder. There's a lot of those around Los Angeles, California, which is where we live when we're not recording.
No,
which is right now in Tupelo, Mississippi.
Yeah, we fly to Tupelo, Mississippi, because that's the only place you get that Detweiler sound.
I get quite curious about these little motels, because Los Angeles is the only place I've quit doing that. It's making a sound in my ear.
Okay, well now it was making a sound in my ear. Now
interesting. It's the only place I've ever lived that has a plethora of independent hotel, motel, sort of vacancy here, neon sign, as if it's 1978.
Yeah.
And they're still going, and I don't know who's staying in them. Some of them are fucked up bad.
Yeah.
There's one on York Boulevard. Woo! With the Highland Park Hotel or something, Highland Park Motel.
Oh, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Open up the Google reviews on that bad boy. I'm about to burp.
Yeah. Well, that's practically right around the corner.
Gnarly.
We could walk there from here.
Easy. We could walk there, but it'd be a really long, arduous
that's
walk.
At like 5370 York Boulevard, and we're only at 5375 York Boulevard. Los Angeles, California, 97720.
Listen, if you want to get me, just blow up all of Eagle Rock, and you'll get me, okay? It's going to be that easy. Me, Kyle Mooney, Blake, not the other one, Beck Bennett.
Blake Bennett.
I'm going to go ahead and just dox every celebrity in Eagle Rock right now. It's me and the two guys from Good Neighbor that you know their names. and the
Stephanie
bassist from
Talmadge,
Weezer.
your girlfriend.
And Stephanie Talmadge, my girlfriend, and the bass player from Weezer. It's a fucked up motel as well. All the Google reviews are like, the room was filled with roaches. The microwave had a roach in it. It's like, it's truly like, I can't believe this is real. It's so bad. And the pictures are fucked up. Look at that shit.
They say I got the greatest night's sleep. I'm a guy who can't sleep, and there were roaches in my bed. There were roaches in my tub. There were roaches everywhere, but I've never slept so soundly.
They do have...
Because Marissa's lips
are right around my ear. They do have... what is it called? Not a men's hotel? You know what I'm thinking of? You see them. There was one in Chicago. Men's prison.
Colony?
I'm thinking of men's prisons.
You're thinking of the men's colony.
No, I know what that is.
That is
like a work
it's a prison.
Chain gang
near San Luis Obispo, and they just say men's colony.
That's not what I'm thinking of. Like the YMCA is the Young Men's Christian Association, but it was like a hotel. It was like transitional housing for men, Christian men, but it was not a hotel for men. It's called something else.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Like a men's home?
Not a men's home, because that's like halfway house.
Well, that's kind of what you're...
There was something in Chicago.
A flop house.
Yeah, there was something in Chicago near where I lived. Basically, it was just there are hotels that are for dudes. This idea exists, and it's gendered for some reason, and I don't know the history there. I'm quite interested.
And those guys can't sleep, but a lot of them, because they are addicted to drugs.
Maybe. They're trying to get back on the sleep. So this was a thought I had about getting to sleep.
Yes.
That brings me to a point. You know who has famously a hard time sleeping? Murderers and criminals.
Okay.
Right? They've done something quite bad, and it's weighing on their conscience. Unless they're a psychopath, and then that's an outside experience. So I think there's something we can learn there, which is take from that, which is if you're having a hard time thinking, and assuming you're not a murderer or a criminal, think about all the people you haven't killed. You see what I'm saying? Think about there's certain, for sure, folks that you could have killed in your life, maybe that you wanted to, but you did not. And that should ease your mind. I didn't do it. I have a clean conscience. I'm a good person because though I certainly, like we all do, have a list of people I wish were dead, I didn't partake in it, making that happen.
Yes.
And I can sleep easier.
Those positive affirmations, I think, could really help you calm your mind and say, oh yeah, I don't have anything to worry about. Yeah, people in this meeting tomorrow, they're going to love me because I haven't killed anyone. When
I was a little kid, we would pray for all the people in my family and everybody we loved. And now as an adult, I list the names of the people I haven't murdered. And that helps me sleep.
That's nice. That's a great way to fall asleep. And then you're just listing off names that set your brain into a nice lull, hypnotic state, and then your head hits the pillow and you start hitting that deep REM.
And that
non-REM, sorry, deep non-REM.
Deep non-REM. Something important there, then your head hits the pillow. Because ideally you've been keeping your head just a few inches off the pillow. Do get a little bit of extra core exercise in right before bed, which is good. Exercise good, help you go to sleep. You just engage your core a little bit, keep that head just floating right above the pillow. And then that way you can feel it hit the pillow as you fall to sleep.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great tip. Do you have any other... We're kind of coming up on time here. So do you have any more
Well, we're losing sun. The sun is setting here in beautiful Tupelo, Mississippi.
It's time for us to start our sleep routine.
Oh.
Yeah. Wind down sleep routine.
Yep.
You
should, I would say, that's maybe the last topic there. It can be quite hard to start your wind down. It takes a long time. I think I have the best, what I'm trying to get to is spend most of your day winding down.
Yes, that is what the experts recommend.
You want to stay as active as possible right when you wake up.
Yes.
Get up at the butt crack of dawn.
Look at the sun.
Look directly at the sun for a little bit.
Open up all your stuff. Raise that body temperature.
Yep.
Take a cold shower.
Yep.
Look at the sun.
Make yourself as physically fucked up as you can.
Yes.
Uncomfortable, exhausted. Work. For I'd say at most 3 hours. Then begin your wind down. Then you're going to want to start getting ready for bed.
Yes.
You're going to want to start putting on the right pants. Listening to the soothing music. All the things you need to do. Brushing your teeth. What time do you brush your teeth?
Usually right before I go to bed. So I usually go to bed around 11 to 11:15.
I brush my teeth right after lunch. because I know there's a long list of things I need to do to get ready for bed.
Okay.
I'm brushing my teeth around 1:30 p.m.
And does that involve brushing your teeth a second time before you actually go to bed?
Yeah, sometimes I do that.
Okay. Okay.
But anything after lunch that's considered bedtime wind down.
Yes. Well, you're practicing good sleep hygiene because part of getting good sleep is starting to think about sleep right when you wake up. It's having good sleep hygiene from the very moment you wake up.
Which is tricky because you don't want to be thinking about sleep when you're going to sleep.
No, that's the sleeper's paradox, is that in order to get good sleep, you need to be practicing good sleep hygiene, but you can't be thinking too hard about sleep or else you won't go to sleep at all. Because there have been some nights where I've had the great sleep hygiene and then you go to sleep and you wake up in the middle of the night.
It's Zen in the art of archery.
Yes.
It's try to hit the target, but don't try to hit the target. Just hit the target.
Exactly.
What do you mean I don't make any sense? Shut up and go to fucking sleep. Go to sleep, you idiot. These are the kind of thoughts I have. But anyways, I'm heavily medicated in order to go to sleep. And I even still have a hard time. Sometimes wake up to pee in the middle of the night, fall over, hit my head. I've hit my head a couple of times this week. Don't know what I was doing.
That's bad.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's really bad.
I went into work the other day, went on a set, and I had a standing out in the middle of the desert, and someone was like, "What's on the middle of your?" It looked like you hit yourself. And I looked on my phone, and I had just a big red. I'm just.
And do you think it has anything to do with does the medication put you in such like a state where you don't know where you're walking around?
No, I mean I'm like walking around doing stuff, but like I'm fine. Okay. No, I'm joking. I don't know. I don't know what that one was from, but I think I bonked my head on like the door or something. I don't know. You're genuinely concerned.
Yeah, I'm genuinely concerned. I've been trying to be a funny guy this whole.
Have you ever
podcast,
sleptwalked?
Yeah, I used to sleepwalk a lot when I was a teen, and then I grew out of it, and then. So we talked about pissing the bed when you're drunk, and that never happened to me. But one night in Chicago, I got so drunk after doing the Thirsty, an improvised drinking show.
Look who's fallen to sleep.
Yeah, look who's fallen asleep. He's been listening to us. Monkey is sleeping. You may be able to see him on the Randallman skycam. Anyway, I got really drunk, and I woke up outside of my apartment.
Woo!
And luckily, I was locked out. But luckily, my roommate, Luke Knoll,
SNL's own. Sorry,
SNL's
Luke.
and NBC's own Luke Knoll, friend of the pod, and my former roommate, he was out of town, and like he had this door that also, like there was our front door, and then he had a door that went straight to his bedroom that he would let whoever he was dating at the time in and out of,
sleep in through the back without having to talk to anybody.
And luckily, if you knew the apartment like we did, we knew that it never truly locked. So I was like, oh shit, I was in my underwear. I was outside of my apartment. I was like terrified because I was like, how did I get here? And I was like, oh fuck, I got so drunk that I sleptwalked, which had happened once before, but I was able to like jiggle my way and kind of like shoulder my way back in through this side door, through Luke's room.
Wow. Was he in there?
Go back in my bed. No one was home that weekend. It was a rare weekend when I had the entire apartment to myself. I was very lucky because it was like 2-something in the morning. I wouldn't have been able to get back in at all.
That
would have been bad. And it was cold. It was like the winter. So I wasn't like outside. I was in like the breezeway. I lived on the 3rd floor, so I wasn't but I would have had nowhere to go but outside. Or just sit and fucking wait.
Were you naked? What are you doing?
I was in my underwear.
Okay.
Yeah, I was sleeping in my underwear.
Shirt on?
I can't remember. I don't think so. But
that's a bad situation.
And then there was one other time too when I got really drunk as an adult and I sleptwalk and I was like, this is crazy. But yeah, now I get.
And can I say I'm glad we heard about that second one?
Yeah. Yeah. That one was awesome. That one was the one that made the podcast right there.
That's going to be the whole pod. Is that second one? What were you about to say?
That's it. I think that we've covered a lot of great sleep techniques, good sleep protocol.
Yep, we've got I'd say a lot of creative and interesting ideas.
Yeah,
a lot of really important ideas.
Bedpan, possibly. Maybe get yourself a bedpan.
I don't know if bedpan's still going on in 2025, but if it isn't, we've got to come back. Is it happening at hospital?
Yeah, at hospital.
And I want to say, just from the shape of it, from having seen the shape of it in comic books growing up, I thought that's under the bed. That's like you're just like sleeping on it. I thought somehow you're pissing through the.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know you thought. pulled it out. I thought somehow you just like pissed down into it as you're like sleeping or something. I didn't know
No.
you shit down into it while you get out of it. It's basically a metal diaper you're on top of. That's what I thought. I don't know. I've never, thankfully, knock on wood, never had to get too close with a bedpan.
Yeah. Well, I guess the sun's setting. We better start winding down ourselves. I've got to eat dinner. I've got to have a little glass of tea, a cup of tea. I've got to not look at my phone. I've got to watch some Japanese train enthusiast videos. Got to talk to my wife about the day. And then maybe I'll listen to a ghost story podcast to lull me to sleep.
This is really calming me down just thinking about that list of stuff. That maybe that's what I'll do to start getting me to go to bed now, is just start thinking about what Tom's doing to go to bed.
Yeah, that's another great sleep technique, is
think about what Tom Fell's doing when he's going to sleep.
Think about what a friend is doing. Think about what your little pet is doing. That's very relaxing.
Tom's petting his dog, and then he's leaning over and he's kissing Jordan. And then and then he's running the hand up his thigh.
Kissing. Jesus. We're stopping. We're stopping it there. You are loved and no one thinks like you, citizen soldiers.
Welcome to the revolution.
Goober Time is produced by me, Griffin, and Lauren Talmadge. Executive produced by Tim McGower. Associate producer Ahmed Stork, and aspiring producer Little Jimmy Penn. Goober Time is engineered by Roger Goodrich and recorded at Detweiler Sound in Humboldt, Tupelo, Mississippi. Sound mixing by Reed Armband with music by Laser Monster, which is Griffin in the past. You can check it out at lasermonster.bandcamp.com. Tom's costume was provided by Padma Lakshmi, with catering provided by Kokomo's Mungo Lounge. Kokomo's, if you can't take her here, you can't take her anywhere.